Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Fangirl Hell. It would have been the fourth episode, but me and Christy both had personal and family issues that kept us from recording. So this is the official third episode. It's our month in review for May, and I am Cosmic, lifelong nerd and aspiring genius, and my co-host is
Christy Lee Stewart. I'm a genius, writer, author, philanthropist, playboy, big fan of the Avengers. Because if you had seen the Avengers, and I'm assuming you did not because you don't go to the movies, that's an iconic line from Iron Man.
I don't have anyone to go see these movies with.
I'd like to introduce you to the internet. There are bootleg torrents of every movie you would love to see.
But it's not the same as seeing it in the theater.
I know. And I wish I could go with you, but the least I can do is be on the phone with you. So take your new fancy phone, put me on voicemail or voicemail? Put me on speakerphone and sit me down in the seat next to you and I'll give you commentary throughout the movie. I have seen it enough that I know it verbatim.
You'd have to give me your phone number first. All I have is your email.
Well, the funny thing is I don't actually use my phone. Thanks for ruining my joke. Sorry. So have you seen no movies this month? That are in the theater. Don't give me like an independent French film or something.
No, I haven't seen any movies in the theater this month.
Okay, well, there were a lot of crappy ones, but the big ones, of course, are the Avengers, Dark Shadow, and Battleship.
Yeah.
Dark Shadows, I'll start with that because that's, I think there's very little to say about that. Unfortunately, I'm a huge fan of Dark Shadows, the original series. I watched it as a kid. I watched it when I was an adult. I have weird memorabilia. I have posters and comics and bobbleheads and just stupid stuff. So I was really excited, especially because Tim Burton's going to be in it and Johnny Depp. And of course, I have a fangirl boner for him.
Burton's not in the movie.
Well, no, he's not in the movie, but his essence is all over it. And that's kind of what it felt like. It kind of felt like I went to the theater, the lights, went down, and then Tim Burton jizzed in my face and said, "Fuck you, thanks for the money." So, needless to say, I didn't like the movie. The biggest problem with the movie is that they kind of took as many storylines as possible from the original series and kind of meshed them together and literally meshed characters together.
Yeah.
So it wasn't written for the fans at all.
Well, see, that's the weird thing, because like obviously I heard that it kind of bombed at the box office as far as taking in money, but I also read, I don't remember where I read it at, but somebody commented that it's basically Tim Burton wrote Dark Shadows fan fiction.
No, yeah.
But obviously, but you're saying it.
Wait, did you read me saying that? Because I'm the one who said that.
Maybe, but how is it fan fiction if it's not meant for the fans? Because
Well, is fan fiction really meant for the fans? I think it's really just meant for the person who writes it. I've never read a fanfic that is done, in a Mother Teresa-esque way to contribute to the culture society. It's mostly just done as a wank fest.
I can't drink during this podcast. I just took a big gulp of Coca-Cola when you said that, and I had to cover my mouth.
Well, I'll forgive you. And that's a good product placement. Maybe we'll get endorsements now. Coke's gonna listen to this and say, "Oh man, they sandwiched our product between Tim Burton jizzing and whatever else is gonna come up." I'm sure it's gonna be awful.
If I end up spitting out Coca-Cola onto my laptop and ruin it, Coke better buy me a new laptop.
Well, while we're at it, what's the brand of your laptop?
It's an Asus.
I'm wearing Hanes her way, by the way. I could really use some new ones. Mine have period stains all over them. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know what mine are. I can't remember.
That's the revealing after show.
They're either Hanes her way or like Fruit of the Loom. Do they make women's underwear? I can't remember.
I don't know. This is freeballing it. Okay, so the second worst film this month was Battleship, and I would have expected it to be the absolute worst film, even though I expected Dark Shadows to be bad. But I got in, the theater for Battleship, was surprised at how many people were there, and it started, and I just started laughing, and I was like, why am I laughing? I'm not laughing in a mocking way. It was actually really good in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Really well written, really funny, and then halfway through when they have to start addressing the fact that it's based off of a board game, it lost all common sense whatsoever.
The thing is like the board game itself is based off of like
War?
from my understanding, I'm pretty sure in the Army, probably in the Navy as well, they do these like practices where they pretend that it's a real situation.
Well, that's what they did for the movie, actually. It was war games.
That's what the board game is based off of. So they don't even have to say it's based off of a board game. Just say they're doing it off of these naval exercises. Problem solved.
They could do that. But with the way movies in Hollywood goes right now, they couldn't stop there. And maybe you don't know this, but I definitely was looking forward to this podcast so I could ask you some questions. They decided to make it about aliens, and I have some questions. So the plot is that Earth sends out signals to contact aliens. Aliens get the signals, come, and they start fighting and everything. And the plot-driven aspect of the story is that the aliens lose their communications once they land and are trying to set up, I guess, phone lines to phone home. And they're like, no, we can't let them because we're dying and they're killing us. We can't let them call home and bring more people. So they end up killing them all and they don't phone home. But it's not as if they didn't tell anybody they were leaving. Like if I'm taking a big armada out through space to make contact with a new civilization, I'm probably going to drop a note to somebody. And there's probably going to be record of it somewhere.
Yeah.
So the movie made no sense in that aspect.
Yeah.
My question to you is, in sci-fi, is that common, this nonsensical aspects to the plot?
Somewhat. I mean, yeah, I've seen that before happen where they're like, aliens come and then for whatever reason they can't communicate, so it's interpreted that they're trying to kill you and they really aren't, but you end up killing them anyway, or the humans kill them for whatever reason. Yeah, that happens. Yeah.
It was just so frustrating. It's like, what, is anybody gonna buy this?
I think, I don't know if it's always done intentionally, but I think if it is something that was done intentionally, it's probably because, if you think about it, if you were under alien attack, if you even thought you were under alien attack, even if you weren't really under attack, in that moment, your brain's not going to be thinking the most logically. You're going to be thinking, oh my god, kill it. You're not thinking outside of that situation where, oh, there's other aliens who obviously know that they came here, so more are going to come looking for them. In the heat of the moment, your brain's probably not thinking logically enough to make that leap. You're just thinking in the moment, right now, there's something attacking us. We have to get rid of it.
I could understand that as a character.
Yeah.
Like, if I was one of the dudes on the boat and I was like, oh man, aliens, let's just kill it, and then, whatever happens then.
It's like if you watch a game show and somebody's getting all these questions wrong that you're sitting at home and you know right away, but you have to think in the contestants' shoes. They're in the spotlight, and so they're going to be nervous and their brain might not be thinking clearly. It's sort of like that.
I can't relate to that because I could never answer any of those questions. It's always like history or math, and I'm like, I don't know.
Even like on are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Oh my gosh, no way. Yeah, I can't answer any of that.
So basically alien attack make human brain go dum-dum.
I can understand that. But after a couple days of fighting the aliens, I would hope I would be the one person who would be like, hey, Sarge, aren't there more of them? I don't think they sent their whole planet, you guys. Not to be a Debbie Downer.
They could be pulling a V. Did you ever see that? It was a mini-series, I think, back in like the 70s or 80s, and then they tried to revive it like last year or year before, or something like that, but it kind of tanked. But basically it was like this these alien ships come and land on Earth, and they say, they look like humans, and they say that that their planet is dying and they just want to come here and basically like live with us or get water or something like that, something stupid. But it turns out that they're actually like reptilian, but they have like a human skin on, and they want to take over the Earth. I don't remember where I was going with this.
It's just like Unto. Well, they did the whole reptilian thing with Battleship too.
I remember where I was going. Okay. Basically, like, they had their entire, or they say they did, had their entire population with them on Earth. Like there was nobody else to come. So in that, if they say that, then you're not going to be thinking, oh, they've got 10 billion more coming after them, you know?
Yeah. And I still think I would be the Debbie Downer. I don't know, you guys.
They eat rats, you guys.
So, despite how ridiculous the sci-fi aspects of it was, the funniest part to me was the fact that it was funded primarily for propaganda purposes. The U.S. government gave a lot to them, and they hired a lot of actual, Navy SEAL guys to be in the movie.
What's that message? Join the Navy and fight aliens?
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably work on some 13-year-old. He'll probably watch that and be like, oh man, I'd love to fight some aliens. And then when he's 18, he was like, I can't remember why I was doing this, but I might as well just do it anyway. So they had, weird patriotic themes, but at the end of the movie, when the credits start rolling, they start playing this song, and it's a song I know extremely well because I listened to a lot of anti-war, Vietnam music when I was a kid.
What song was it?
It was Creedence Clearwater's Revival, Fortunate Son. Do you know that song?
Yes.
Yes, it starts off really patriotic sounding. And
yeah, that's a very anti-war.
Exactly. It sounds very, very patriotic because he talks about the red, white, and blue. And so a lot of people will play it at patriotic events, not realizing how anti-war and how anti-government it is, and how it specifically talks about, how government, Senator Son specifically, can get out of drafts. So I'm sitting there listening to this song, realizing that it's for propaganda purposes. I'm looking around to see if anybody else gets it, and everyone else is like, God bless America.
That's like the song, I think it's Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. That's a very anti-war song too, but I remember, I think it was back in the 80s, somebody who was campaigning for president used to use that at their rallies, and then Bruce Springsteen was like, no, you can't use my song.
I would let them continue to use it. It just cracks me up how many. I don't think we have any patriotic songs that aren't really awful country songs that no one wants to listen to.
Or national anthems.
Yeah, the national anthem. So, yeah, finally we have the Avengers, which I'm sure you've noticed is kind of taken over every fandom.
It's all over my Tumblr dashboard.
Yes. I can imagine that I'm guilty for some of that.
Yes.
But the Sherlock fandoms, because I, followed Sherlock fandoms and X-Men fandoms, they all just moved over to the Avengers, and there's just the whole month has just been made up of Avenger fandom. It's insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does it seem annoying to someone who hasn't seen the movie?
It's only annoying because it makes me want to see the movie even more.
It is such a good movie, it really is.
I'll probably end up doing what I did for X-Men First Class and wait till it comes on the on-demand thing and order it and watch it on my TV at home.
I love that movie too.
As
much as I love Avengers, I love that one more. The thing I love most about, kids, what can you say about the movie? The movie's great, fantastic, you should watch it, but the best part about the movie is the fandom. My favorite part of what's developed in the fandom is the fact that everybody's kind of creating this new mythology around it where Captain America and Iron Man get married and then they adopt Spider-Man. It's hilarious. It's so good. And then Deadpool is constantly wandering around trying to find a place to live and nobody wants him around. Hawkeye doesn't want to roommate with him anymore. And Captain America and Iron Man won't let Spider-Man keep him at his college apartment. And it's too funny. It's too amazing.
It's very funny.
I think the best usage of ridiculousness I've seen in years.
Speaking of the Avengers, I get somebody did a parody, I guess, of the poster. They made the Avengers United Kingdom, and they had Harry Potter, Sherlock Holmes, Dr. James Bond, and this character named Gene Hunt, who was in this sort of slightly supernatural cop show called Life on Mars. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, where they go back
in time. Yeah. Which, interestingly enough, starred the guy who plays Watson in Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Yeah, Martin Freeman. Yeah, like I saw that poster and I was like, oh my god, somebody has to make this happen. Like I don't care if it's crappy cut and paste picture comics or if it's really grammatically awful fan fiction. Someone has to make that happen.
I'm sure it will. I mean, they've added Doctor Who into the little, new mythology of the Avengers, because now Doctor Who is working with the Avengers.
What?
Yeah, you haven't seen that? Oh yeah, they redo the scene where Loki is in Germany and he goes before the people and he's like kneel, and they do this whole,
I think I did.
Hitler thing, and then Doctor Who's there and he's like, oh, and then they have the dudes from Supernatural there.
I did see that.
Yeah, well, he keeps reappearing in the in the mythology. So yeah, now he's become a part of it.
Okay, so I finally got caught up on Glee. I did like a marathon screening on Thursday and Friday.
I'm surprised you didn't kill yourself afterward.
I didn't kill myself because I think you'll find I have a pretty high tolerance for watching crap.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many like indie or foreign movies that I've like started watching and they were so awful, but I was like, I have to know how it ends, so I keep watching.
I used to do that, like, back in the day where you had to, like, where it was rare that you could get a full film from, like, Korea or Norway or something. When I would get the movie, no matter how bad it was, it'd be like, well, it cost me too much, or it was too much of a pain in the ass, I gotta watch the whole thing. And I'm so jaded now that I'll watch, like, 15 minutes of the movie, I'm like, screw you, Sweden, and your movies, and I'll just turn it off.
So on Glee, I know in the last episode that we did, you had brought up how there was a scene that you hadn't actually saw, but you saw it in the GIFs of Quinn in her wheelchair in the bathroom with the other girls and saying something about how like a guy had leaned in to kiss her and at the last moment he pulled away because she's in a wheelchair and she's never going to date anyone again and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I found out the guy did not pull away from the kiss because she's in a wheelchair. He pulled away from the kiss because he is a hippie Christian homeschooled virgin, and he's all like, but he says that Quinn gives him feelings in his pants. And,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, and that he doesn't want to sacrifice his faith to be with her or something like that.
Okay, wait a minute. Wasn't her original story that she was, like, on the Virgin Squad?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jeez. They have very little ideas.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was what that was all about. And, I don't really know if by the end of the season they don't really make it clear if her and that guy are dating or just whatever. I don't know if they just stayed friends or what. Because, like, at one point Quinn asks, once he explains to Quinn why he didn't kiss her, she sort of says, well, that's okay. She doesn't expect him to, give up his faith, whatever. And then she goes, so what is this between us? And they were both like, well, I don't know. So they didn't really make it clear if they just were going to stay friends or what, because Quinn is a senior, so she would be leaving anyway, so it would be kind of pointless to like start something. But she ends up being able to walk by the end of the season, of course.
Of course.
And, she made several comments about how, like, I can barely walk and you expect me to do that dance? But it's like, you're going around wearing, like, platform sandals and stuff. You can barely walk. I don't think you should be wearing those shoes. Just saying.
Did they say why she all of a sudden got better?
Her physical therapy, I guess?
That is so ridiculous.
See, because I think part of the problem is because they don't really give you that clear of a time frame as to how much time actually went by. But
well, I mean, it's obviously within the school year, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some frame of reference.
Some frame, yeah. But I just kept thinking, even if she can somewhat walk, you'd think she'd have at some point she'd have a transitional period where she had like crutches or something or a cane to help her, But no, she went from the wheelchair to walking. Like there was no transitional crutches or cane or anything. Just boop, I'm walking.
It's TV magic. And I want to like be like, oh, how retarded, and just make light of it, but the fact is that it's stuff like that makes people actually believe that that's how it works.
Yeah.
And it ends up becoming a hate crime a lot of the times because, I mean, I've had people come up to me and be like, if you would just go to physical therapy, you could just get up and walk and you're just not trying hard enough. It's like, I don't even know you. Please stop watching Glee.
Oh, okay. So I know your feelings on what you call inspiration porn.
Yes.
So there was this one little segment where Quinn got nominated for prom queen, still in her wheelchair at that point, but she was still using her wheelchair, but secretly she was sort of able to stand and take some shaky steps, right?
Okay.
I think like only her and the guy who didn't kiss her, his name's Joe. Only her and Joe knew at that point. But she was campaigning for prom queen and king along with Finn, because he got nominated for king. And at one point, this like underclassman comes up to Quinn and like is saying how much of an inspiration she is, and how that it's so amazing that she's doing this even in a wheelchair and after everything that's happened to her and blah blah blah. And Quinn just kind of smiles and says, well, thank you, but and like something about how like the real inspiration is this other girl and how beautiful her legs are and all this stuff. And and then the girl walks away, and like Finn looks at her and he's like, what are you doing? Like kind of somewhat troubled or disgusted by the fact that she's basically playing up being in a wheelchair to win prom queen.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that? Because, like, I would think, like, if somebody is unknowingly making inspiration porn, that's one thing. But if they're purposefully, knowingly doing it to get ahead, what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, obviously that's horrible. If I find people who do it unknowingly infuriating, and I will rip them a new asshole for that, I obviously will find people who are intentionally doing it infuriating. As far as TV drama goes, that's pretty good TV drama. They should have played that up some more and kind of been like made her kind of a villain out of it. I think that would have been a good aspect to it. They should have played it up, made her even though she can walk, she should have been like, I'm just gonna stay in this wheelchair and I'm gonna get all this sympathy. And then maybe they should have gone as far as having her take up social justice rights and be like, the way you treat us people, and just like really do it up well. That would have been good writing.
Well, Glee's not that good at writing. At one point, I think it was like right before their prom, right just before their prom, Quinn is in the bathroom and she's standing at the sink, and Finn comes looking for her and he sees her standing and he basically flips out and he's like, you've been able to walk this whole time? And she's like, well, you're just seeing me take some of my first steps. And he's like, you've been lying to us? Like, he's he totally flips out over it. And Quinn was like, well, I wanted it to be a surprise. And he's just like, I chose you over Rachel, because Rachel didn't want Finn to campaign with Quinn. So he was like, I chose you over Rachel. So he like leaves in a huff, and back inside the prom, he's like, Quinn's still in her wheelchair and they're like dancing, and I don't know what set him off, but he's like, he's basically telling her like, stand right now, like stand up and show everybody how much you've been lying and stuff like that. So yeah. But she does end up standing by the end of it. Like, she's on stage singing a song, and yeah, she doesn't actually win prom queen, by the way.
Oh, good.
Well, see, the thing is Brittany, the ditzy cheerleader, is class president, and she decides that the people who are going to count the votes are Quinn and Santana, both of who are nominated for prom queen. And the reasoning behind this is because they don't trust each other enough, so they'll keep each other honest. So they count the votes, and the winner by one vote is Quinn, but then Quinn is all like, I finally got what I've always wanted and I don't feel any different. And then she says to Santana, like, let's make a difference or something like that. And so they basically lie and say that Rachel Berry won prom queen.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why the charity for that? I don't understand.
Because at some point, like, Rachel had come up to Quinn and was saying how much, like, that when the whole Glee Club thing started, like, Rachel looked at Quinn and basically wanted to be Quinn. She was pretty, she was popular, she had Finn as her boyfriend, and everybody liked her, and that's what Rachel wanted to be. And Quinn says something to the effect of, like, don't rub it in, basically, that she's no longer those things, because she's in a wheelchair, I guess. And Rachel's like, no, you don't get it, I still see you that way, and blah, all this stuff. So I guess that's why. I don't know.
I don't know why they just didn't go for it and have them two get together.
There is, like, a fandom for that.
Of course there is.
But, okay, so moving on from that, New Directions, the Glee group, they win their nationals competition. Obviously, that was a no-brainer. It was going to happen because they lost last year. So, obviously, they won. Kurt and Rachel had been wanting to go to this made-up school for the show. It was made up for the show, called NIADA, which I don't remember exactly what that stands for, but it's basically like a school where they go prepare you to be on Broadway. And so they have their audition. There's a judge from the school that comes, and it's just one single judge that makes the decision whether you get in or not. And Kurt totally nails his audition. He even gets a good compliment from the judge, and Rachel completely blows her competition because she forgets the words to the song she was singing. Yet, somehow, Rachel gets in and Kurt doesn't. And the only reason I can think of is because after Rachel blows her audition, she goes like stalker crazy and like continuously calls the judge. She goes to see the judge in person. She has other people go talk to the judge and say, you know, how good and amazing she is, basically. So I guess the judge liked the persistence. I don't know. But yeah, so Rachel blew her audition, but through her persistence got into the NIADA school, and Kurt didn't. And Finn had applied to, you know, the show Inside the Actors Studio?
Yeah.
So apparently that's affiliated with an actual acting school called the Actors Studio. Who knew? So Finn applied to that, but he didn't get in either. So Rachel decides that since Finn and Kurt didn't get into those schools that are also in New York where NIADA is, that she was going to take a gap year and stay in Ohio to help Finn and Kurt work on preparing to re-audition. But Finn tells her that they need to let go and to surrender and split up instead of getting married so that Rachel can go to NIADA in the fall and not put it off. And it's this huge tear fest, but eventually Rachel agrees, and she gets on a train to New York, and that's the end of the season. Yeah.
But don't they also end with the graduation?
That happened, yeah, they graduated, yeah. But the actual final scene is Rachel at the train station. They did graduate.
How iconic, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Very old Hollywood.
She gets on the train, and then she gets out at New York, and she's looking around like she's Mary Tyler Moore.
You think they'll give her a spinoff?
I think that was, at one point, that was supposed to be a plan. It was supposed to be like her and Kurt having a spinoff in New York, but I think that was canceled at some point. Like, the idea of it was canceled. I don't even think it ever really got into, like, pre-production. So, yeah. I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, Glee is going to be very different next year, you know? Like, Rachel, as much as she could be very annoying, was basically one of the lead characters, and now she's not really there anymore. And I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Finn and Kurt. Like, are they just going to go to, like, a community college and work towards getting into the one they really want? Or are they going to, you know, I'm curious as to what they're going to do.
Well, whatever it is, I'm sure they'll do something that will offend many people. And then they will sing.
So the other TV show that I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I'm just going to briefly discuss it. It's a British show called Grandma's House.
Okay, I've heard the name, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, it's co-written by and starring this comedian named Simon Amstell, who used to host Nevermind the Buzzcocks. He was very beloved as the host of that show, very acerbic and witty. And the show basically is, he plays a fictionalized form of himself, and it's a fictionalized form of his family on this show. And the humor is often very, very dry. It can be kind of subtle at times. Sometimes it's a bit cringe-inducing from secondhand embarrassment, but I think it's really funny.
So how many seasons has it been on?
2 seasons, and I read that the second season apparently is the last season that they plan on doing. And it's only 6 episodes a season, so... Okay, still on the topic of Grandma's House. I saved like a quote from one of the episodes, and I want to get your reaction to this, like what you think of this quote. Okay? Okay. So it starts with the main character Simon talking, and then he's talking to his aunt. Okay. So Simon says, "There's something off about charity, isn't there?" And then his aunt says, "What?" And Simon, "Don't you think the desire to help or be doing something important creates the necessity for suffering?" And then the aunt says, "I don't know what he's talking about. Do you?" And Simon says, "That makes sense, didn't it? You need to perceive these people as invalids so that you can feel valid. That's my point." And then the aunt says, "These people can't walk." And then Simon says, "Yeah, because, look, I had this conversation recently with cool people, and it went much better than this."
That's really good, and it actually has a very good point.
Okay, Hollyoaks.
Okay.
I have such mixed feelings about this. Like, I think was it in the first episode that we did? Maybe? Or, yeah, I think it was the first episode that we did, for the squee of the week, how I talked about there was, like, this sort of will they, won't they between two characters.
Yeah.
So, the character, Doug, finally, like, confessed to Steve, sort of. He didn't actually say, I love you, but it was one of those situations where no answer is an answer.
Okay.
And then the next episode, they, like, kissed, and it led to, because there was this big misunderstanding where Steve had, like, gone on a couple dates with some guy he met on the internet named Adam, and Doug thought that Steve was really into Adam, and so he was like, okay, I'm just gonna drop it and say that, you know, my confession was just me being confused, and that's it, and let Steve go be happy. But Steve, unknowingly to Doug, had broken up with Adam. So then Doug found out about it, and there was just this big, you know, misunderstanding, and it led to a kiss. And then they were off air for like 2 weeks, which was ridiculous. But yeah, so at some point, like in next week, I think they're gonna get together officially, and they're gonna be together for maybe a day or two, and then Doug is gonna confess to Steve that he got the money to buy the building that their deli that they just recently opened is in. He got the money from Brendan, who is Steve's manipulative, abusive, psychotic, sociopathic ex. And Steve apparently is going to break up with Doug because of that and then go back to Brendan. I don't know. That's what the spoilers say, which makes no sense. Like, a lot of...
Well, how did the spoilers get released?
They get released through, I guess, like, soap opera magazines in the UK.
Oh, yeah. I know those well.
Yeah. But, like, it's very misleading because a lot of people are thinking that Steve isn't actually getting back with Brendan. They think that he's doing it to get out of the debt that of the money that they owe to Brendan, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm hoping that's what it is, because seriously, like, if they make him go back with Brendan, that is just the worst, because Brendan would, like, beat him up. Like, that was their big storyline. It was domestic violence. Like, I'm really hoping that...
But it makes for such good drama.
Yeah, but it basically throws any character growth that Steve has had out the window. Like,
yeah.
So, and this one message board I go to that talks about it. There's this girl who is she's a very big fan of, like, Steve and Brendan as a couple. They're called Stendon. So it's like anytime somebody says something like, oh, Doug and Steve are so cute together, she replies, yeah, but Brendan's even better. Or, oh, but Brendan loves Steve. Oh, but Brendan can change. Oh, but Steve loves Brendan. It's like, oh my god, give it a rest. We get it.
Oh, that whole he can change thing, that always makes me cringe.
I know. I'm really hoping that it's just like a ploy to get out of the debt from Brendan, but who knows. Okay, we can move on now.
Well, it's a good transition because we're going from gay couples to gay couples, because the only news in comic books this month is gay couples in both the big, Marvel juggernaut and DC. So in Marvel, in Astonishing X-Men number 51, Northstar is finally going to marry his longtime boyfriend, Kyle. I think his last name is Ginadu. And so, everyone's talking about that. Oh, it's going to be the big gay wedding. And, as a fan of X-Men, it's like, okay, they're not that big of characters, but okay, people are excited about it. It's definitely going to get a lot more readers into it.
Yeah.
And they obviously are planning for that, because when I was going through the comics being released this month and adding them to my little database thing I have that, chronicles how... You
keep a database of comic book releases?
Well, the ones that I'm going to get and the ones that I own. It kind of follows, the worth of my comic books and how much, I gotta keep on top of these things. So when I went to put in that I'm going to be buying the issue before they get married, the issue that they get engaged, I went to put it in and it's like, okay, well, it's going to cost $100. And I was like, what? And I had clicked the wrong one. I want the issue number A, which is going to be like $3. But they have such high expectations for this, even the engagement issue, that they're releasing up to an issue E, I think it is, which is going to cost over $100 in the first print.
What's the difference between an issue A and an issue E?
Well, when they start new story arcs in a comic, or they have an iconic writer or artist working on an issue, they tend to release different printings.
Okay.
And it's usually just A, B, and D, but I mean, they go all the way to...
So what is it like? Is it like the same cover and everything? It's just...
It's sometimes they change the cover. Sometimes they kind of change, the first couple pages or whatever. It depends on... I mean, usually it's just they change the cover, but if it's something, they're trying to sell a bunch of stuff for, they might add extra notes and stuff in it. But I don't know what they're going to be doing for the $100 issue. It must come lined in gold.
It better be like a hardback book edition.
I can't imagine. The thing's only going to be, like 6 pages? It's a comic book. But yeah, I was like, $100? Oh my god. Oh, okay, there's a $3 version. I'll get that. So, I'm not totally excited about it. I'm excited, just in a normal way, but yeah, hopefully they get more readers. I love X-Men. But the bigger, comic book controversy right now is that DC, Dan Didio, rather, quote unquote, let it slip at Kapow Comic Convention in London that they're going to be changing an iconic character, male character, into a homosexual.
Ooh.
And he didn't say which one it was. He said it was going to be a dude. He was a prominent character. He's an iconic character. And they're going to make him gay.
So what are the possibilities? I don't know which are DC comics and which characters are like Marvel or whatever. So
okay, well DC, the big one and the one people are making most jokes about is Batman. Of course, I mean this is pretty big news in the comic book world, but it's kind of one of those things that
especially if it's a prominent character.
Yeah, well, he says it's a prominent character, but a lot of us are wondering exactly how prominent is this character. So I'm seeing it actually covered in news, like local news and in big media news, and people talking about it. And of course, the joke is always, it's Batman because he lives with that young boy, and they, but I mean, there's no way it's going to be Batman.
Maybe it's Robin.
Which Robin though? There's so many Robins. People made jokes. Oh, it's Robin, thinking that it's the original Robin who is Nightwing. Well, Nightwing. I mean, it cannot be Batman because Batman is such a poon hound. If you read any Batman comics, he doesn't solve any crimes without getting laid at least a few times. He just sticks his dick in anything. He just always has it out. His codpiece just comes unattached, and he just goes around sticking his cock.
It's like a furry costume. Like there's easy access.
Yes, it's very much like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the idea from the furry. Like he was surfing the internet and he was like, of course. Oh, all these years I've been taking off my pants. Yeah, but Nightwing is kind of the same one. I love Nightwing and he is adorable and he's one of my OTPs with Barbara Gordon. But yeah, he gets his poon too. Okay. So it's definitely not one of those. And so people are like, oh, how about, Wonder Woman? She's really dykey. It's not her either. She's very heterosexual. So that's the jokes that have been going on in the main media. But the people in the know, those of us who actually put some common sense and actually read comics have been trying to think about it. And everyone is pretty sure that it's now going to be Green Lantern.
Oh.
But it's not the Green Lantern they made a movie out of.
Okay.
Because that's Hal Jordan.
Right.
Hal Jordan is like the second Green Lantern, and when they remade Green Lantern into be like a sci-fi comic. Because, of course, he gets his powers from aliens from outer space. In the original Green Lantern, this dude, Alan Scott, he got his powers from a magical lamp.
Like a genie?
Yeah, except it's, green light.
So cheesy.
So, his didn't last that long. The original Green Lantern, he didn't last that long. But they have him show up throughout the years as an older man in the Green Lantern comics. It's kind of like it's the original, whatever. But they recently relaunched of course, the new 52 relaunches. They relaunched his story, Alan Scott as Green Lantern, and made him a young and virile man. So when they relaunch someone as young and virile, they're obviously about to get laid because that's just the way they do things.
Yeah. So, if they've relaunched his story, is he still going to get his magic powers from a lamp? Or are they going to change it to, like, the whole alien thing?
I don't know, and they should know because they've actually started writing it. But I dislike Green Lantern so much that I never read it. But that is the question. I'm going to have to look into that. I'm assuming they kind of ixnayed the magic lamp because no one's really into that anymore. I mean, it was written...
an alien with a magic lamp.
Would that be sci-fi then? Are we back on that? If an alien uses magic, is it sci-fi?
Maybe it only seems like it's magic to the human. It's that ancient astronaut theory.
It's that I love
Ancient aliens.
It's always aliens. Maybe they rewrote it to say like the ring got stuck in the lantern. I don't know. And now I'm really interested. I'm gonna have to find out. So yeah, everyone's pretty sure it's gonna be Alan Scott. But I mean that's such a cop out because he's not really a prominent character. I mean iconic, sure, but prominent character. He hasn't had his own comic since forever.
Yeah. Were you done talking about comics, or did you have more?
Nope, I'm all done since nobody knows for sure who this new iconic gay guy is gonna be.
So I just have like 2 brief mentions for comics because, as we learned from the last episode, I don't really read comics.
Yes.
So there's supposed to be very soon. I think it's like this coming Wednesday, like the 30th. I think they're supposed to release a comic book that's a Star Trek Doctor Who crossover. And as you know, I sent you an email saying that that could get me to read comics. Like.
When I opened it up, I thought it was a fake. I thought somebody made it, and then I looked closer. I was like, "Oh my god, they're really doing this."
Yeah.
So, do you know what the story is going to be about? Or are they just like traveling through space, and then all of a sudden the TARDIS appears?
I don't know the entire details, but that link that I sent you, it says in there that they're supposed to like team up to battle. I guess the Borg and the Cybermen team up, so then the Doctor and the Enterprise crew team up to battle them, I guess, is what I'm understanding from what I read.
I hope they make a movie out of this.
That would be so epic. Oh my god.
So are you going to buy this?
I don't even know where I would buy it. That's the sad thing.
Well, actually, I don't know where you can Google, but there are websites where you just put in your area code and it'll tell you the nearest comic book store near you.
Or I could just buy it online.
Or you could do that, yeah.
It can be my social shut-in self and just buy it online.
I've started to do that since my comic book store has gone so downhill. They're trying to sell sports stuff to boost your sales.
I know. I mean, there's a chance it may get picked up at like Books A Million or something because I know they have like a comics section, but I don't know. The last time that I was in a comic book store in my hometown was like back in 2008, 2009, and I don't know if it still exists. So.
Man, you need to get into the culture of comic books and start being a regular. You can be like one of those old guys who sits in the back, who spits out, weird trivia, like me,
The other brief mention I had is actually a webcomic, which I'm much more inclined to read than actual physical comic books.
Because you're cheap.
And also because webcomics tend to be more humor-based than, like, superhero or anything like that. So
yeah. So
there's this one, it's called Busty Girl Comics. It's basically just, like, situations that women with large breasts, like the perils, I guess.
Is this porn?
No! It's like a humor in-joke kind of thing. Like, one thing I like is, like, the comics are very, like, ethnically diverse. Like, it's not just the same, like, white girl over and over. Like, they have white, black, Muslim. They have, like, feminine-looking women and, like, more masculine-looking women. So it's a very, like, good diversity that you don't really see that often. But,
so
like,
are there recurring characters?
No. They're, like, one-off little things. Like, there was one where it was, like a Muslim woman in, like, a hijab and everything, but she was wearing, like, a messenger bag, and the strap, like, falls right between her boobs, and it looks really awkward. Yeah. Like, so it's like situations like that women with larger breasts get into, but I would say I have fairly average-sized boobs, but even I relate to some of the stuff that happens in these comics. So it's, it's very female-oriented, I'm sure, but
you're sure? Yeah, I would say this leans more toward female audiences.
Yes, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's funny because it's true kind of thing. So yeah.
Like, you're slowly moving into comics, I guess. I mean, it doesn't have, like, a overall story or recurring characters.
I really like XKCD.
Oh, yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
But I kind of consider those, like, when I think comic books, I don't really consider...
Well, it's because it's not a comic book. It's more like a comic strip.
I know, but if someone says, "Oh, I like comics," the first thing I will think of is like comic books.
Yeah.
But if someone's like, "Oh, I like comic strips,"
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, that's a completely different thing."
Yeah. Well, because it's more one-off things usually. Like think it like comic strips or web comics, if they're humor web comics, tend to be like one-liner jokes, whereas a comic book tends to be like an entire stand-up routine. That analogy, basically.
Yeah. So, do you have a squee of the month?
It's between two things. The Avengers parody poster, the Avengers United Kingdom with Harry Potter, Sherlock Holmes, and the Doctor and stuff.
Yeah.
I got such a kick out of that. Like I was just like, oh my god, when I saw it. So I'm gonna say probably that. A close second would be Stug, Stee and Doug, but it ended kind of bittersweetly. So we're gonna go with the Avengers United Kingdom.
Okay. My squee would definitely have to do with the Avengers too. The dude who plays Loki.
Yeah.
I think his name's Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
He released a photo of himself on
I saw that.
Yes, on Twitter wearing a Loki t-shirt.
Yeah.
Too amazing. That made my month.
I read like the gossip magazine Blind Items?
No.
No, it's the name of the magazine isn't Blind Items. Blind Items are like gossip, but they leave the person's name out. So they'll be like, this lady did this on this night, but her Mr. A wasn't there, blah, blah, like stuff like that,
Okay.
That's
it's very Regency.
That's what's called a blind item. Like, it's basically they're giving you the gossip, but they're leaving out the famous person's name. But they drop hints to try to let you know who it is. Well, apparently there was this blind item that an actor from a big summer movie secretly bought fan art and kept it in a room in his house.
Oh my god,
and
that's so him.
Everybody was like, "Oh, it's Tom Hiddleston." Like they're like, "It's a blind item."
He is the best. He is the best thing that could ever happen to fangirldom, because he's like so a fangirl himself.
I know.
He goes on Tumblr and he follows the shit on Twitter. He even roleplayed against Loki on Twitter. I mean, he's insane. He's such a fangirl.
Yeah.
We should all worship him, and so far we have been.
I haven't even seen the movie, and I think it's great.
Wait until you see the movie; it will change your life. Okay, so maybe we should have done the squee first, because now we're going to do the what the fuck of the month. And on a bad note, do you have a what the fuck of the month?
I don't think I do. I mean, can't even remember if that happened this month. I think it happened last month, and it wasn't even anything. It was more like something that happened in my personal life, so I don't really know how well that counts. I was, like I had told you, my grandma was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was going with my mom up to see her, and we parked out in a parking lot, and we were walking up to the entrance. And as we got closer to the entrance, my mom was kind of like looking around, and I asked her what she was doing, and she said she was checking to see if there were parking spots up here, because she said that they used to have parking for people up here, but now they're all handicap spots. And I looked at her and I was like, well, there's still parking for people. And she goes, yeah, but they're all handicapped now. And I was like, yeah, but it's still parking for people. And she goes, oh, you know what I mean.
Why do you have to be so difficult? That's a good one. I wish I had something as funny. I think the only thing I'm going to go with the what the fuck of the month is the Creedence Clearwater Revival song at the Battleship. I had such like an out of body moment when it started to play.
Yeah. Oh, who thought of using that? I almost wonder if they did it intentionally.
That's what my friend Megan said when I went with her. When I told her about it, because of course, she's not a big music buff or anything. So I leaned over and I said, you know why this is funny, right? And I explained to her, and she was like, oh, maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe
it's like some sort of reverse psychology anti-military show movie.
The only thing I think is either it was just that they just didn't pay attention at all, or it was some producer who was like, no, geez, let's see if I can slide this in. Oh my god, it worked. Which, if that was the case, changing that from my WTF to my squee. Fuck the man, that's my squee. Okay, I think on that, unless you have something else to add.
No.
Well, I think May has been good to us. It's had its ups and its downs. But
Yeah.
Avengers have saved us. So have a good month, everybody. We will see you very soon with an exciting new episode of Fangirl Hell.
Hopefully.
Yes. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.